Hi, folks. Steve Urban here, host of the Riderflex Podcast and founder and CEO of our day job recruiting firm, Riderflex. We hope you enjoy this episode. And as a reminder, please subscribe to the podcast for updates and news. Finally, if you haven't already, check out the series of books we've published on hiring, interviewing, and overall career advice titled The Riderflex Guide, available on Amazon. And now, a quick word from our sponsor.
Most homeowners don't have the time or expertise to properly take care of their home, which causes costly issues to arise. That's where Cura Home Maintenance comes in. We're a full-service, routine maintenance company that was developed by a certified home inspector. Each quarter, we service our clients' homes following manufacturer's recommendations to properly maintain all the necessary appliances. We provide the materials and expertise to prolong the life of your property, creating a healthy and efficient environment for your family. From top to bottom, we'll maintain and service your home. To get started, we have a property inspection to determine what needs to be maintained, and a maintenance plan is created based on your preferences. From refrigerator coils to filters, vents, and drains, we do it all, and we do it well. Contact us today for your free routine maintenance inspection, and never worry about your maintenance again.
I was on the treadmill this morning, re-listening to some of our first interview, and I had forgotten about some of those stories about how when you first got into cannabis and your mom was like, "So you're going to sell dope now," or whatever. I can't remember. You were saying this is good stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly what she said. You're gonna start selling dope.
Did your mom and dad did they listen to our first interview? Do you know?
I know my mom definitely did. My dad, he passed away a couple years ago, but
okay. Yeah.
She always gets a kick out of this shit. She's just like, "You're making money, so I'm gonna rock with it."
That's cool. We'll just roll here. We're rolling, so we'll just keep going. Otha Smith back on the Riderflex podcast, one of my favorite guests who was not afraid to just be authentic and real and tell us about all the trials and tribulations and scars and everything. So I try to get people to talk about when they were younger, right? And all the fuck ups or arrests or whatever.
Yep.
And some of them just don't want to go there, or they will, and then later on they're like, "Hey, can you cut that out? Can you?" Come on, man, come on. Let's just be real.
Yeah, I keep it real, man. Like, what you see is what you get, and you can't let the past judge you for who you are as an adult, right? So, whatever you want to ask me, let's go. Like Dave Chappelle said, I'm just keeping it real. You know what I mean, Steve?
Any confessions you want to make since our last podcast? So have you gone to Vegas on a trip with the guys that you need to tell us about? Anything?
No, I mean, well, one thing I did, which was a first for me, is I traveled to Jamaica for the first time alone.
Oh, really? Okay. All right.
Yeah, so I did that because, starting a business, you got to give it everything you got. And unfortunately, it torpedoed my marriage. So that being said, I was like, you know what? I got to go find the new me, get my mind right. And this is not something I really shared. So here we are. And a new single man and everything else. But so I said, you know what, let's go to Jamaica. The weather's nice. The drinks are cold. The grass is green.
The smoke is good.
Yeah, the smoke is good. And so I went there and stayed for a whole week by myself. And that's something I would advise anyone to do, is this: go on a trip by yourself. You really learn a lot about yourself. And I was a little intimidated, but it was actually a beautiful experience. I didn't have to worry about, what do you want to eat, or what do you want to do? You want to go to the beach? You want to go to the pool? So there was a lot of that was refreshing. It was really refreshing.
That's cool. Well, first thing I want to come back to Jamaica and ask you specifics, but first, when did the divorce happen? Do you mind me going there?
A little bit, a year and a half ago.
Okay, when were you on the show? Over 2 years ago. So you got divorced after you were on the show.
Yeah, like pretty much right afterwards.
See what they. Oh shit! Whoa!
So,
Oh damn! Was
like
there
I
was there
always
trouble?
say,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, life has a sixth sense of humor, you know?
Do you contribute a lot of it to the entrepreneurial late hours, long hours, travel, stress, or was there trouble in paradise already, or a combination?
No, I mean, I'm one of those that would say I took full responsibility for it. You know, when I get focused on something, I just get hyper focused. I just blur out everything else. And so being in starting a business, I mean, you've probably heard this from other entrepreneurs where it's just like you got to put everything you can into it.
Mm-hmm.
And when we launched Tetragram in 2020, I mean, I worked, I wake up every morning at 5 a.m. I was at the gym by 6:30, on the computer by 7:30, and then I wouldn't get off the computer till around 11 midnight. And I did that pretty much 7 days a week for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
It was just what was needed in order to get our company to where it is today. But looking back, I definitely would have done some things differently. But one of the things that I always hear and you read about a lot is that, the road of entrepreneurship, it's a lonely road, man, because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times people don't believe in your vision.
Mm-hmm.
You got to dedicate so many significant hours to it in order to get it off the ground. So, it was an unfortunate change of events, but at the end of the day, the one thing I'm grateful for is that, we still remain best of friends. And it was amicable, which is nice because you hear some of these horror stories and it can really go left for you.
Mm. Did you have to write a check for half the valuation of the business? Or do you, or
No.
you want me to hit? We can talk about that after the recording goes off.
Yeah. No, I escaped as whole as I could be financially.
Okay. All right. Well, now your daughter, I think you had an older daughter, right, in college, high school, something.
Yeah, you got a great memory.
Uh,
So yeah, she actually just left this past Sunday to go back to school. She was home for spring break, but yeah, I have a 21-year-old daughter. Still sounds crazy to say sometimes, but she's finishing her third year at Virginia Tech in their veterinarian program. So
cool.
super excited. She's like maintained a 3.8 GPA. So I look at that and I'm like, damn, you're my kid because I barely got by.
Did she say, Dad, like, what the hell? Like, what's going on with you and mom? Like, or was she just like, okay, cool, as long as you guys are happy? How'd she take it?
Yeah, she was just like, I've always been an open book with Alana. It's kind of, again, it's how I live my life. And so I told her, I was just like, this is what happened. I'm solely responsible for, this new reality that we live in now. And she was just like, okay, well, don't think I'm gonna, because that's not her biological mother, my ex. And so she was like, I'm still going to have a friendship and a relationship with her. I was like, absolutely. I was like, she's been in your life ever since you were 3 years old. So I don't expect anything like that to change. I would actually be upset
Mm-hmm.
if that relationship changed in any way.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so it's been a year, a little over a year. Now, if you were anything like me when I went through my divorce, I went crazy when I first got divorced and my wife left. I I was banging everything. I mean, I just everything. As fast as I could go, it didn't. I just whatever. I just
Yeah.
went nuts. I just went nuts. I was like, look, I don't even really have to know your name. Just come over.
Yeah, it's like that saying goes where it's like, the best way to get over someone is get under another, right?
Yeah. I told you I went crazy for a while. Yeah, nuts.
Yeah,
Uh,
I didn't do that, man. Yeah, I've just been still plugging away on work, but I just that moment has really made me appreciate the things in life a lot more and like
okay.
realize that like work isn't everything. That email, that person is going to be there tomorrow. They'll be there 3 months from now. So don't put so much pressure on yourself to like, oh, I got to respond to them right away. Of
Mm.
course, if there's money on the table, that's a different conversation. But um, yeah, I just remain dialed in, but just been a lot more conscious about how I spend my time now.
we'll get off this ex-wife stuff. I'll tell you one more quick story, so I can relate, because I've been through it. When I came back from a trip, I lived in Austin, and I'd flown out to El Paso or somewhere, I can't remember. I flew back, and my wife was gone. Like, everything was gone. It was one of those deals. This was before cell phones, before all that, and I know, and she hadn't been answering the phone for a couple of days, but I didn't really think much of it. I walk in to the house, everything gone, everything gone. And the next day, I had this old mattress that I had thrown out back behind the shed that I drug inside and threw on the floor. And that was it. That was the only thing in the house.
Jesus.
And I called my dad, crying, feeling sorry for myself, just, oh, Dad, what do I do now? My life's messed up, blah, blah, blah. And my dad was this John Wayne, kind of like hardcore, like, he didn't pass out a lot of hugs and kisses and stuff.
How old
Anyway,
were you?
I'm 57. My
No,
dad
at the
was,
time when you got divorced.
I was 28, I think. Yeah,
Okay.
somewhere like that. And anyway, call him. I'm like, calling him for sympathy or whatever. I'm crying. Long pause on the phone. He doesn't say anything. I'm kind of waiting for him to say something. He goes, "Well, better not mess that job up." Like, okay, Dad, I was kind of wanting maybe a little something more, He's just
I
like, "Yeah,
get
don't mess your job up." Okay.
nice talking to you.
Yeah, thanks for the emotional support, appreciate it.
Yeah, that sounds like something my father would say. He probably would just said, "So what you gonna do now?"
Yeah, right. Yeah. They're different. Yeah. Anyway. All right, let's get off the ex-wife stuff. Jesus Christ, man. Maybe, hey, who knows, man? You got something better flying your way pretty soon, probably.
Yeah, who knows? I'm just keeping an open mind, man. But I don't
Okay.
know. It's a different world out there. I was held, in a relationship for 17 years, bro. So it's like it's a completely different beast out there. Like, people are like, you gonna get on the dating apps? I'm like, yeah, I do not think so.
Can you walk up to a girl at a bar and just introduce yourself still today? Is that still normal? Do guys still do that? I don't even know.
Yeah, I have no idea. No idea. I just know,
Uh,
like, the gym is off limits. Like, do not go
oh,
up to someone at the gym and try to
okay.
spark up a conversation. It's like it's considered like dirtbaggish, I've heard.
I
So
got you. Okay, good to know. Well, good to know.
yeah.
That's good for the podcast listeners. Good for. So cannabis, the world of cannabis. Oh man, it's changed a lot since we talked last. Uh,
That's an understatement.
wow. I mean, when I first started the podcast, whatever it's been, 5, 6 years ago, man, cannabis was all the rave. Everybody wants in. Everybody's trying to get in. All the executives from all the Fortune 500 companies are calling me saying, "I got to get into cannabis. That's the place to be," blah, blah, blah. Well, here we are recording this on March 2024. And now everybody's running the other direction, or at least it seems that way. What?
You're totally right. You've seen a mass exodus of people from the cannabis industry over this last year and a half because people even outside of the industry, just in general industries, you've seen how, inflation has just gone berserk.
Yeah.
Capital markets have dried up completely. Like, no one's really raising capital like that. And then you put that microscope on cannabis where, there's not traditional funding available. We can't go to get an SBA loan. We can't go to the bank and get a line of credit. And so, those two things just really compressed the industry to a point where it's made it extremely challenging to operate. Um, People are spending less on cannabis for the first time, so it's like, how are we going to make up this margin, make up this ground? And with not being able to raise capital, it's just become extremely challenging. And then, on top of that, how I refer to it as AU, adult use. because I think I shared on the initial podcast, like I think the word recreational should be completely abolished from the cannabis industry because, it's medicine at the end of the day. And for people who say they're recreational, yeah, I mean, I use it recreational too, but I'm still using it to suit some need or provide some type of experience, which there's a lot of medication that does that for you. So that being said, with adult use really sweeping the market, in every market across the country, you see like this health and wellness train that, we rode to get legalization passed in all these various states kind of being pushed to the wayside now.
Mhm.
So, like here in Maryland, I experienced it on July 1st of last year. Adult use came in, and now patients are like, I'm not getting the same type of care or attention when I go into a dispensary. I'm like, hey, I have X, Y, and Z condition, or I'm looking for this particular experience with cannabis. They're just not getting that same
Mm,
consultation. Now people are just
mm,
being pushed to an iPad and say, place an order,
mm,
give me money and head out the door. So it's really been unfortunate.
mm. I hadn't thought of that. I've talked to a lot of people in cannabis. Nobody has brought up that specific point around the care that patients get. And wow, what a great reminder. Because I remember when I first did some consulting for cannabis, which is how I even started doing recruiting for cannabis a little bit, was I did some operations consulting first. And I was blown away by the level of service in a medicinal shop when patients would come in and the conversation with the person behind the counter. I remember the first time I witnessed that for about a half a day. I was like, wow, okay, that is a real consultative type of conversation. Like I had no idea that's even what it was. I hadn't thought about it, but yeah, I bet a lot of that has been pushed to the side. Now it's just a transaction, huh? Now it's just a transaction. Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, because a lot of, majority of the major MSOs, they just look at, quantity over quality of the
Mm,
experience. And so,
mm,
but then at the same time, they'll talk out the left side of their mouth and be like, I don't know why people come to our store and buy product once and never come back. Well, chances are you're not providing the right experience, you're not providing the right consultation. And what that leads to is like a customer going into a dispensary making a purchase based upon a recommendation of some bud tender who might have an alternative, I won't say ulterior motive, but might be influenced to sell a certain product because the margin is nice for the dispensary. But that,
or they're overstocked on that particular strain
yeah,
or whatever.
exactly. But that customer goes home trusting that recommendation, and the next thing you know, they have a negative experience, and they're like
Mm,
not using cannabis or not shopping back at that store. So
mm, mm.
and I don't know, it's just unfortunate that people don't see like where this industry is going to go at some point. If you look at like Canada as somewhat of an example where, it was legalized at that, at the state, at the country level.
Right.
And so like when you go in there, it's a lot more consultative than it is here. And they don't even use like strain names like we use here, like green crack and different shit like that. It's just a different approach. And if you think about how someday no one has the crystal ball to see when that's going to happen, but when federal legalization happens, descheduling happens here, I truly believe there's going to be a shift in the retail model away from just selling it as any intoxicant to more so there is going to be some medical influence behind the counter.
You think, or do you think it could be even worse and go the complete opposite direction where it's just a pack of cigarettes that you buy at Walgreens and it's no big deal?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to go that way. And the reason I say that is because, a lot of the talk is about moving it from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 drug. Well, if you look at a Schedule 3 drug, that's still a prescription. That is not an over the counter medicine that you could just buy at any point.
Okay.
And so we look at that framework of a Schedule 3. There needs to be someone who has that medical background who's saying, okay, Steve,
Mm,
this is what you should use. This is how much you should at least take, things of that sort.
okay. Do you think that the ink pens will lift off of the desk from investors this year and we'll start to see cash again? Or is it still pins down, so to speak, from what you're hearing and seeing?
From what I'm saying, it still pins down because if you think about it, right, like so many of these investors have been sold the narrative that federal legalization is going to happen any minute, and then it's going to be gangbusters. We no longer have to deal with this 280E problem.
Yep.
And I mean, we've been in this, we've been telling that narrative for about what, close to 10 years now.
Yeah.
And so people are exhausted. They're just like, you know what? Because a lot of the investors that I've spoken to, because I always just like keep them up to date on what we're doing, and then of course get feedback from them about what their pulse is in terms of investing in.
Hmm.
Majority of them are simply waiting for the federal government to do something before they make any big investments moving forward.
And that's for cannabis. Keep in mind, pins are kind of down right now for investing overall in a
Oh,
lot of ways in this market anyway. So you're feeling it even worse.
Oh yeah, I mean it's magnified by 100 when
Yep.
you put it in the cannabis space because it's federally illegal. So
Hmm.
the appetite is just isn't there anymore. A lot of people have been investors, I mean, have been burned to the point where it's like this is past 30-degree burns. I'm done.
I'm done. Yeah, I'm done. And by the way, I've had that conversation with executives, investors, owners, people who've just called me and said, "Yeah, I'm done. I'm out. Like I can't do this anymore." Uh,
Yeah.
so what do you think's going to happen? I mean, what happens from here? If you had to make some predictions, is it a lot of people shut down, more people exit, the strong survive, so to speak? Eventually, the money comes back. Where do you see it all going?
Well, I think you're still going to continue to see the remaining states. I think we're at what, like 35, 30, 33 states that have now legalized it in some shape or form. So I think you're going to see more states that switch from medical, like Florida, for example, will probably convert to adult use at some point. Pennsylvania will probably do the same. And so when those situations happen, then of course you have companies that move in and they consolidate, they buy up a lot of these small companies. So you're going to see a lot more consolidation, I see. But that's the thing that's unique about this industry is that since it's not at a federal level, as new states come on board that have never legalized cannabis in any shape or form, everyone gets excited and starts flocking to that state because it hasn't been saturated yet.
Yeah.
And so those are states where you potentially could still see investor money flowing because, they understand that like, all right, if this new state's coming on board, there's going to be an opportunity to make some money in the short term. But over time, depending upon how the regulations are structured, um, that has an expiration date. Like New Jersey, for example, has always had a medical program. Then Governor Murphy got in office. Now it's recreational, and you're literally seeing new dispensaries open up every day.
Mhm.
But it's going to hit a point where it's like,
Yep.
so they're making money now, but it's going to hit a point where there's too many, and then
Yep.
people are going to start falling out.
Oklahoma is a great example of that, by the way. There's no cap on the number of licenses or stores or anything, and it
Exactly.
is crazy. 'Cause I grew up there, so I go back home to see family every once in a while. And last time I was in my hometown, I drove through town, which is like 20,000 people. 20,000 people, and I bet there's 30 shops in town or something crazy like that, right?
Yeah.
And I got
Right.
to out to my I got out to my mom's place. I'm like, what the hell? I told her, I was like, 75% of these are going to go out of business. There's no way.
Exactly. It's come to a point like, it's kind of like how I educate and consult with dispensaries or brands. It's like, we've gotten to a point in certain states where it's like the customer, all they see is 7-Elevens. So how are you going to differentiate yourself, especially when a majority of each of you are carrying the same products?
Yeah.
Um, and
Yep.
that's where, again, it relates back
Back to the,
to
yep.
to the customer experience.
Yep.
You want to go to Nordstrom's, you want to go to Macy's. It's kind of that type of game that we're living right now.
Do you think if when it does go federal legally, when the Fed approves it, will it end up with 4 or 5 major players, Coors, Miller, Budweiser, etc., and then some microbreweries, so to speak, trying to use a comparison here, will survive? Is that what you see?
I mean, that's what's happening now.
Okay.
So you have Curaleaf, you have GTI, you have Verano, you have True Leaf. And you have what? I think Terracen's another big one, and
Yeah.
Air Wellness is another. So I think you have like six big players right now. And their whole business model is built on federal legalization happening.
Yes.
And then your Walgreens, your CVS's and so forth come in and buy them up. And then, each of these six MSOs, multi-state operators, have, at a minimum, probably 10 or 15 brands underneath them so that,
Mhm.
you buy a product and it's X, Y, and Z. Oh, you didn't know that's a Curaleaf company, and so forth. So you're already seeing the CPG play out in the industry.
So there could be a stock pop for some of these folks when they get bought up by the big boys. The problem is, do you want to wait that long as an investor? And why do you want to wait that long? Do you want to watch that stock price just continue to kind of do this and hope that that thing gets purchased and boom, it goes. That's the
Yeah,
rub, I guess.
yeah, exactly. Like, how much longer can you wait for that hockey stick approach, right? So, and no one knows. I mean, that's the scary part. And like people are thinking like, oh, it's going to happen in, the next 18 months. I just don't see that happen within an election year. When there's an election year,
Oh yeah, no, yeah,
everything comes to a screeching halt.
yeah, no doubt about it.
Um,
No doubt about it.
so I think,
You mentioned the inflation earlier. Um, my wife and I haven't stopped purchasing our recreational cannabis because 18 eggs are $10, which pisses me off, by the way. But I am more conscious about it than I used to be. Like I do pay, I used to never pay attention to prices in grocery stores, like ever. I would just go to the grocery store, grab what I needed. I swear to you, Otha, I never even bothered to look. You know,
oh yeah, I'm right there with you. My actually used to never send me to the grocery store because I was just like, oh, that's cheese. Those are hamburgers. I never looked at the price.
no, no, never. Now I do.
Oh yeah, yeah. Now I look at everything. I mean, it's to the point now where I don't know how, it's something to be said about like people who when they hit like 70 years old, they just watch every nickel and dime, right? And
Dude, yes.
like my mother's 76, and I mean I get it, right? Because they're like, I'm no longer working, I'm getting my
Yep.
social security, my retirement, but I don't know if this is going to last me as long as I need it. So I get why they monitor the money so much, but I just say all that to say like now I'm having conversations with my mother saying, can you believe the price of those eggs now? It's like you
Seriously.
know,
Oh,
it's
seriously.
every morning when we have our daily morning call, it's always a little bit of conversation about, can you believe how much this is? Can you believe how much that is? And I mean, let's face it, cannabis is not cheap. I was just in New Jersey a couple of weeks ago, and I mean, an eighth of cannabis will run you 70 to $60 to $70, $75 for an eighth.
Wow. And what can the kids get it on the street from their friends down the block? 40?
Well, 40, $30. I mean, if I call up some of my homies I deal with,
Yep.
I can get ounces for 100 to 150. Why would I go to a
Yep.
dispensary and pay 350?
No doubt. And that's happening. I mean, we all know that's happening. And as inflation goes up, that's happening more.
Yeah.
That's happening. And I'm not an expert on this, but it's so obvious that I think a lot of people want to follow the rules, right? Like I think, especially my age, we want to go to the cannabis store. We want to purchase it legally and safely and blah, blah, blah. But damn, if it's $80 down there and Joey across the street gets it for 40, I mean, okay, I don't know. Joey, come over.
Yeah, totally. And it's just one of those things. Like if you have someone that you've been dealing with for years prior to this huge movement in cannabis becoming legal at the state level,
Yeah.
chances are you're probably going to stick with them. You'll have
Yeah.
chances where you go into the dispensary to see what's new, but
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about knowing that your product is tested and been vetted, so it hasn't been sprayed with shit like a lot of people are doing.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
but at the end of the day, like we always say, price is king.
Yep. It is at the end of the day, unfortunately. Okay. So let's get an update on the business. What's going on? What's the latest? What's the latest flagship rollout? I want to know what Tetragram is. How are they doing? Give us, first of all, give us a fresh overview in case nobody knows what's going on with Tetragram, and then the updates.
Sure. So yeah, I'm happy to announce that what was it? October 14th, we released version 2 of Tetragram, our flagship version. So we're super excited about that. We did that we launched it in conjunction with New Frontier Data, which is, a very big, world recognized data company in the cannabis space.
Okay.
So they have a division called Care Docs, which they, service over 300,000 patients, I think, in their lifetime. So it's a great relationship there to further drive Tetragram across the country and make it a household name. And then with this new version, man, we just have so many new features and functionality, all these things that we've had on the whiteboard since the initial inception of Tetragram, and it's just been beautiful to actually see it, come to life. The new version now allows, we have integration with point of sale companies so that consumers no longer have to manually type in the product information. Yeah, you click on the dispensary you made the purchase from, and if they're a partner of ours, it pulls in their menu automatically. So it makes that user experience a lot nicer. But go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't mean to, I don't want to go into the weeds, but so if I go to the store and that store already uses your software, if I make a purchase, I'm just doing this a couple of times instead of having to.
Exactly. So, and you're just saying, oh, this is the dispensary I made the purchase. Oh, they're a partner of Tetragram. Type in like the first couple of words, letters of that product, and it pulls it up right away. So that was something we were, always envisioned happening, but it's nice to see that come to fruition. We've now included people with the ability, so now people have the ability to actually share what we call their cannabis medical chart directly with their dispensary or directly with their doctor.
Cool.
So we have a whole back-end portal now so that just our dispensary partners and our medical healthcare professionals can now access all the data that we've been capturing. So that it's really exciting. But like we talked about earlier, with so many dispensaries moving away from education and being very consultative with the customer. I never thought the day would come where, a year and a half ago, if you would have said, hey, where's your revenue coming from? I would have said, well, 50%, give or take, from dispensaries, then another 50%, give or take, from the healthcare professionals. And now that's like 90% towards the healthcare professionals now.
Towards the healthcare profession, you mean the users or the doctors? What do you mean?
The doctors.
Really?
Yeah.
90% of your revenue is coming from the doctors.
Yep.
How does that business model work? How does that work exactly?
So first of all, let me just start off. The reason why we did that is because dispensaries just don't care about helping patients with their own access to their data now. It's like, I just want to sell you something and be on your way. But if you look at it from the healthcare perspective, like, doctors have been eager to get their hands on data as it relates to products that exist in the marketplace today. And so now with Tetragram, every person has their own unique QR code built into their app. And so now I can actually show my QR code to my doctor, and he can see, or she can see in real time, every product that I've used, how I've used it, what I thought about that product. So now the doctor is finally in a position where they're able to fully examine your use of cannabis and be able to be more consultative with you in terms of, all right, so I see that didn't work, but that product consisted of these terpenes, those cannabinoids. So now they can just be more, tailor that approach to you. But in addition to that, one thing that we built in was a clinician's directory. And this is like, if there's any feature I love, this is the thing I love, because now, as a healthcare professional that specializes in cannabis, you are still held to the same headaches and roadblocks as if you were a dispensary or plant touching business, in the sense of, you can't advertise your services. You can't use Instagram, you can't use Facebook. So to a degree. And so now we built in this clinicians directory where
Beautiful.
doctors,
Yes.
educators,
Mhm.
organizations can have a profile on Tetragram. And then me as a user of Tetragram, I can actually schedule my appointment with that doctor directly through the application.
Is that the business model? The doctors pay to be in the directory?
Exactly. So it's two pricing models. One is they can just pay to have advertisement placing on the directory, or they can have the advertisement, but also have access to our backend where they can get access to all that data.
Well, I was just about to say, I don't want to have to, well, yeah, can my doctor just have my access? Do I have to give him the QR code every time, or can my doctor just get in and see my chart?
No, so you definitely have to give them access because that's that HIPAA compliance piece.
Every time I have to give him access every time I go in?
Yep, every time, whether you meet him or her in person, or if it's virtually, you do have to give that QR code.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. I
Yeah,
got
because
it.
just think about it, right? Like data privacy is
Yeah.
huge, it's paramount more than ever. And
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, I don't, even though I might have a great relationship with my doctor, I don't want him to just be like, you know what, let me get a glass of wine and see what Otha's been doing with cannabis. You know?
That's pretty
It's
funny.
like,
Oh, it's good.
nah, I gotta still give you permission, doc, you know?
So the doctor uses it to help you with what they prescribe and all of that, and you use it to track your own health and wellness and what you're using. And so it's for you and your doctor. It's a database for you and your doctor that you guys can share.
Exactly, exactly.
Uh, I love it. You know, one of the things that I remember, I don't mean to cut you off right there, but I just want to say for the patients or for the listeners, I never can remember what I purchased last time, how it made me feel. My wife will go, she'll go purchase stuff. She'll be like, I got you this new pen. I'll be like, okay, cool, whatever. I'm just, I use the pen. I'm out camping. I, I barely even look at what the brand is most of the time. Maybe I'm the only one that does that, but I'm guessing I'm not. I damn sure don't track right then, like how I really loved that, or that made me feel this way or whatever. Don't even think about doing that. But
Mhm.
here's what does happen. Like a couple of days later, I'll be like, man, what was that one thing that one pin, one thing I took, or that one gummy I took? Like, wow, that was really good. I have no fucking idea what it was called or anything. And I don't even remember what it was, but I don't know. I guess I'll just go to the cannabis store next time and get something else. And then I don't get the same thing because I didn't track it properly. I didn't do any of the things that your app does.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And there's some people that are fine with that. They're like, I don't remember, but you know, weed is weed. I'm just going to pick something else up. So, you know, we don't expect every consumer to utilize the app. I mean,
I need to.
yeah, yeah. I mean, but for those who are really looking at it from like, I'm trying to figure out what's going to work to improve my
Yes.
quality of life, they're damn sure going to keep track of it.
Oh man, I definitely need to. There's so many times when, yeah, like I said, when I'll use something and I liked it, and I don't have any reference to it. If I had your app and if I was using it properly, which I'm embarrassed to admit that I haven't been, but I'm going to now, then I would track it better. I
Yeah.
wish the more automatic it is, the better. Can I just take a picture of whatever I have? Can I scan whatever? Can I scan the barcode or
So that's coming. I mean, you know, it took me a while. Like I always knew that the technology and my vision was ahead of the industry.
yeah,
But it took me a while to really let that sink in because I would like beat my head up against the wall and be like, why isn't this already available so that it makes it easier on everyone?
yeah,
But to your point, there's a company called Metric. You're probably familiar with them. They're the seed to sale company that holds a majority of contractual relationships with the state regulatory bodies.
okay.
So they're the ones that are responsible for providing information regarding every product that's been sold, how much has been sold, and so forth.
Yeah, that's right.
So
Yep.
that way, there's no diversion of cannabis.
Right.
And they have a new CEO, Michael Johnson. Shout out to him. But he realizes that they are probably the best positioned organization to create some type of standardization when it comes to product labels.
I see.
And so what I mean by that is like here in Maryland, I could get all the terpene, cannabinoid information on every label, but that's because it was legislated to be that way.
I see.
Majority of states are not that way. You just get the CBD content, the THC
mm.
content, and whatever.
Ah,
So what Metric has done is said, you know what? We're going to use QR code technology since we have a majority of the states that we work with and make sure that every product has a QR code that gives the customer the ability to scan that QR code and get access to all the lab results, all that product information, nutritional facts, if you will.
okay.
And so we knew that that was coming at some point. We actually didn't know Metric was building it, but we had already built in a QR code scanner so that people can scan that QR code and it imports everything. And then that's all you're doing in terms of putting in that information in a platform. So
Okay.
we're patiently
Okay.
waiting, but
Okay.
it's something that's going to happen eventually.
Sounds like you knew where I was going, which is easy and fast. The whole world, the whole planet works off easy and fast, right? The easier and faster it is, better for me.
Exactly. Exactly. So, technology has made us very impatient people. So, and I know the benefit of doing it because, I love our technology, love what we built, but there are times where I'm like, man, I just wish that QR code was ready, available right now,
Yeah, for sure. Is Tetragram, you just go to the Play Store or the Apple Store or whatever, download the app. Is that the deal? Available everywhere?
Yep. You just go to the App Store if you're an Apple user. You go to the Google Play Store if you're an Android user, and you can easily download it. It's completely free. As far as I see it, always will be for the consumer.
That's great. What a wonderful example of pivoting as a startup entrepreneur, moving your revenue over to the physicians. Great job. When you saw that coming, you're like, okay, we're going this direction. It's taking me this way. The wind's blowing this way. Let's go. Turn the sails.
Yeah, I think that's the key word everybody needs to understand in life, but definitely in this business is, when you see that storm ahead, just adjust your sails and tack for those sailors out there. Because that's exactly what's needed. Like we saw the shift happening and we were like, all right, when we were in development mode, we were like, we need to start building this, we need to start building that so that we can keep that revenue stream alive and well.
Speaking of brewing storms, I'd like to spend the last few minutes talking about what technology and AI, the rapid, lightning fast advancement of AI, what do you think it might do to the planet, for lack of a better word? I don't know about you, Otha, but I will not forget the very first day I logged into ChatGPT and used it for about an hour. And I called my co-founder, Scott, and I said, holy fucking shit. I think the planet, I think the planet's about to change.
iNet is here, my friend.
Right? I was like, wow.
Terminator.
Yeah, where's Sarah Connor? We might need Sarah Connor.
Yep.
What do you think,
I mean,
Otha? I mean, yeah, where do you think? I mean, pretty soon does the large language model, is that my assistant for everything and I don't need individual apps? I mean, where are we going? Any thoughts? Any ideas?
I got tons of them. I mean, the first thing people need to realize is that AI is like a paintbrush stroke. It's very broad. So when you drill that down into like, all right, how are these language models actually being utilized? That's where people need to put their focus in. And furthermore, people need to understand that AI has been around for 30 plus years. We just reached a point where the AI is working so efficiently and so fast that one, it's annoying the hell out of us because it's doing it so quick. And two, it's scaring the shit out of us because it's doing it so quick. But if you look at Microsoft Word, where you start typing and then it fills it out, that's AI. We've been having that for years.
Mhm.
So it just needs to be used properly. And unfortunately, you know, the government's taking steps to bring in these people from Meta and uh, Google and so forth to educate the lawmakers on like what the potential for it can be. But I think AI can be used in a lot of beneficial ways. Like we've been using AI to read certificates of analysis, the lab results for product. Because
Okay.
again, when we talk about that QR code, we want that AI to learn that. We've been using AI. We're going to be using AI to make product recommendations through Tetragram at some point. So I guess it just really depends on what the use case is and just being conscious of what the output can be. But at the end of the day, the only thing that scares me is that I don't know a better word to describe it is making people dumber too. It's like it's making people not have to think as much. Like people will like you hear about lawyers using Chat GBT in order to
Mm-hmm.
for their defense, and that lawyer actually got barred for doing that because they're
Uh-huh.
like, "Where'd you get this from? This stuff doesn't exist." So this all context is everything, I guess, is what I'll say.
Do you think the reports that 30 or 40% of the workforce might be affected in the next 5, 10 years? Do you think that's
Completely accurate. I think that's probably a low number.
me too? Actually, I do too.
I think
And
people
and
who are like going to school now for computer science, they need to switch to AI or something else because there's not going to be a need for tech developers as that AI gets smarter and smarter. It'll write that code. It'll write millions of lines of code in a couple of minutes. You're just not going to be able to compete with that.
I heard a lady that works for us here at Riderflex. She said her son just recently graduated. He wanted to be a copywriter, and I said,
No.
I said,
Which,
I don't know, I don't know what he's going to do for a living, but now,
yeah. Yeah, and like certain instances like that where copywriting, things where there's not a lot of deviation in what is being outputted,
yeah,
there's this the AI is going to replace that hand and fist. Like I mean,
mm-hmm,
you see AI being used like Tesla is a prime example of AI, automated driving.
mm-hmm,
Soon they're going to perfect that to a point where taxi drivers. I mean,
mm-hmm.
I think Uber should be worried about how the hell their
Oh
business
yeah,
models in 10 years.
absolutely. I think there'll be, I've said this a few times on the podcast. I think there's going to be a short-term major disruption in the workforce, because I hear people say, "Oh, we'll figure it out and new jobs will be created just like we always do when technology happens and just like we did when we went from kerosene to oil or electricity and blah 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 and all the from the horse and buggy or the horse and cart to the automobile. We always figure it out." Yeah, but this one's faster and bigger than I think any shift we've ever seen before. So I do think there'll be this short term major disruption until we figure it out and people transition and we do some things. I think there's going to be some short term pain, and we're already seeing it. Quite frankly, I mean the software engineer searches, because as you know, Riderflex is a recruiting firm for our day job, right? Software engineer searches are down like 70%.
No kidding. Jeez.
you know. And meanwhile, software engineers 36 months ago, they were still king. They could still demand whatever they wanted. Not
Yep.
anymore.
Yeah. And you said it 36 months ago. So it's not been that long ago.
No, no.
I think about like before I got into cannabis and I was working at Constellation Energy and, the energy brokers, I mean, we would always think about, is AI going to replace our job? It damn sure will. Because why? Because in that context, the AI can look at the electricity, the gas markets. It can look at the weather shift because weather plays a big role in terms of what the oil prices, what the gas prices are going to be. And the AI can read all that stuff in a matter of seconds and then make calculations on what the oil price should be forecasted at. And that's what
Mm.
humans are doing today and making a very great living. I mean, I miss it, but at the end of the day, AI is going to make a lot of shifts, and it's not just here in our nation. It's going to be a global shift, and that's what people need to really understand.
It's going to be a global shift. Yeah. Major disruption. Okay. Now to make it a little bit lighthearted here as we wrap up, speaking of AI. So are you using the chat GPT, the voice version where she'll talk to you on the phone?
No,
Okay.
I can honestly say only used Chat GBT one time.
Okay. What are you using? Are you using Gemini or which language? Are you using a large language model, a different one?
I'm not
No.
using any of them. Like I'm
Okay.
actually not contributing to them.
Okay. Well, I was going to tell you a funny story. So I got the chat GPT, on your phone where she'll talk to you, right?
Mhm.
Well, you can change it, the voices. Well, I picked the sexy voice, the one that sounds really good, right? So I, I'm in the living room. My wife's cooking dinner or whatever, and I'm in the living room and I'm telling her, I'm having a conversation. I'm having a conversation with her about whatever. I'm just fucking around.
Mhm.
And my wife's like, "Who are you talking to?" And I was like, "This is my new girlfriend. Her name's Sky." I was like, "Look, I can ask her anything, and she'll just say all kinds of cool things about me because it's been trained to know who I am. It'll be like, Riderflex is the greatest recruiting firm of all time, and you're an awesome CEO." And she'll just like give me all these compliments. It's great. Anyway,
Oh, it's hilarious.
uh, it can be
Uh,
fun. It can be fun to use. We got to have a little fun with it since it is, to your point, a little bit scary.
mhm.
I don't know
Yeah.
where I don't know what our grandchildren are going to do for a living. Maybe everybody will just be on universal basic income. Our grandchildren will just live on that. And nobody will have to work. I mean, hey, cool, whatever.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't know.
I ain't holding my cards on that one, but we'll see what happens. I mean,
We'll see. I don't know.
yeah, it's
We'll
it's
see.
it's interesting.
By the time the robots are doing everything, me and you'll probably be retired or dead. So it's all good.
Oh yeah. I mean, but yeah, that's exactly what I say. Selfishly, it's like when this shit really hits the fan, I'll be seeing the roots. So best of luck to you.
Me too. Agreed. Tetragramapp.com if you want to go to the website, right? Tetragramapp.com for the
Yes,
website, or
sir.
you could just pull up the app on Play Store or
Yep. And
Apple Store.
follow us on Instagram at the Tetragram app. You got to spell it all out because of course we've been shadow banned. That's always fun.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but yeah, download that app today and take control of your personal journey with cannabis, man.
Otha Smith the third on LinkedIn as well, if you want to connect with him there.
Yes, sir.
Otha,
That's
thank you for
great,
being
man.
on the show, man. Always cool talking to you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, likewise, man. Thanks again for having me.